Hello, welcome to my review of WWE Elimination Chamber 2022. I watched this with Mrs. Ebeza. I took 0 notes, so I am going to be doing most of this off memory. What would be a good idea though would be to open up a results page on that there internet. That'd be handy, wouldn't it? But yeah, the only match I haven't watched was the pre-show match because I didn't realise it was going to be on the pre-show. So we just started watching from the main show, but they filled us in on the show anyway. That's not the link I clicked. What the hell? I'm so confused. Just show me the results. How difficult is this? There we go. Right. So, yeah, Rey Mysterio defeated The Miz as I predicted in my predictions video. So I selected Rey just on the basis that they're in Saudi and they quite often put the established guys over in Saudi. So there we go. It was on the pre-show. I haven't watched the match. I saw the finish came thanks to Dominic. Miz thought he'd outsmarted them doing the Eddie Guerrero play of pretending he'd been attacked. But then when he went for the Skull Crushing finale on Rey rolled him up and got the win. So there we go. The opener to the main show was the Universal Championship match. Roman Reigns beat Goldberg in a match that was not as car crashy as it could have been, but Reigns is pretty good. So, you know, this is going to be a popular opinion. I mean, it probably is these days, but Reigns would have easily been capable of carrying that match. Interesting finish. I had a slight issue with it in the fact that there were several rope breaks, and the referee just didn't call for them and just allowed Reigns to hold onto the guillotine. Seems a bit weird. But aside from that, I mean, I was just glad when Reigns won. I was slightly fearful they were going to give all of that work to go, you know, and just put Goldberg over with it. Like, I predicted Reigns, so 2 from 2, yeah boy. But I was slightly concerned that, you know, Saudi and Goldberg have some history, don't they? You know, beating the Fiend and whatnot. So I was a bit worried. They put a lot of investment into the Fiend before he lost to Goldberg as well. Let's not forget that. But maybe not as much as they put into Reigns. Anyway, the right one won. So happy days. Roman Reigns picks up the win over Goldberg. Next, we had the Women's Elimination Chamber, which I thought was a little bit off. I don't know. Just felt slow. And I don't mean like the overall pace of the match. I mean each move. Like there wasn't a lot of snappy stuff. I don't know. I was very aware I was watching something choreographed during the women's match, the Women's Elimination Chamber. Which obviously we know the whole thing is choreographed, but like I felt very aware of it, which isn't a sensation I get a lot in wrestling. I don't know. Wasn't a huge fan. One thing I was a fan of though was in the predictions video I said. The only likely winners were Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, and Rhea Ripley. They were the final 3. I said that Rhea was probably the least likely of the 3. She was the first eliminated out of the final 3. And then I picked Bianca Belair to win, and Bianca Belair did win. So I thought, wow, I got that pretty much bob on, so I was pretty pleased with myself on that. One thing I did think as soon as it was over though, was like they really just went through this whole rigmarole of bringing Alexa Bliss back, and all the vignettes, all the, you know, the psychiatry vignettes, and segments and whatnot, just to have a loose clean. It just, I don't know, seems weird. Anyway, either way, Bianca was definitely the right choice, I would say. Everything so far seems like it was the right choice. Like no issues with the booking at all. I predicted them because they seem logical, which can be risky with WWE, but you know, it paid off. Up next was the tag team match, Ronda Rousey and Naomi versus Charlotte Flair and Sonia Deville. Ronda Rousey had to have one arm tied somewhere near her side, apparently was the stipulation. Wasn't behind her back for very long, was it? Like, I get taking flat back bumps with your hand tied behind your back would be dangerous, potentially. But all the time she was stood up, she could have at least, like, held her arm behind her back so it looked like she had it tied behind her back, but she just didn't bother. I predicted in the end, I'm pretty sure, that Ronda Rousey would beat Sonya Deville. And Charlotte might even opt not to help out. Wow, I got that right, hey? predicted that one correctly. I'm hoping that was my final answer. I was umming and ahhing between Ronda beating Sonia and Charlotte beating Naomi, and I can't remember which one I settled on. I'm pretty sure I settled on Ronda beating Sonia, but correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But as far as I'm aware, I'm 4 from 4 on this, so going pretty well. Up next was Drew versus Madcap Moss in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Yeah, I had a bit of umming and ahhing because there was a chance Corbin could have made sure Madcap Moss won, but in the end I predicted Drew McIntyre, and Drew did win with the sword-wielding Claymore kick and then pointing the sword at Corbin whilst doing a 1-foot pin. Jeez, and that was me thinking they were building Moss up a little bit, like, at least make him pin him properly. You know, bit grim that. Like, the better way to do this, in my opinion, would have been to have Corbin, like, properly taken out early, and then, have a really competitive match that Drew just about won. Would have been the better way to go about it, in my opinion. But, you know, maybe they're not quite pushing Moss just yet, it would seem. Overall, fun enough match. Not amazing. Just you know, some good fun moments in it. But easily forgotten. That will easily be forgotten. Next up, I would say, was the match of the night in terms of outperforming expectations. Purely because of Lita's ring rust, you know, there was a chance this was going to be horrible, but it wasn't. It wasn't the best match of all time. It was all right. I've not thoroughly enjoyed a Becky Lynch match in 2022 yet. I'm a bit disappointed actually because I really like Becky and I've really enjoyed her work in the past, but recently not so much. But she was in there with someone who hadn't wrestled in a singles match in I think they said 16 years. But they said meaningful singles match, which I don't know what that means. That means she had some squash match 8 years ago or something, I imagine. But, yeah. So, Becky Lynch obviously wins this one. This was one of the very few predictions I was confident in. Kicked out of Elite Assault. Missed her own moonsault, but it wasn't a terrible first ever attempt at a moonsault. She actually got over, so fair play to her. Like, I say first ever attempt. First attempts on WWE TV. She's probably done a moonsault before at some point. But I doubt you do your first ever one on pay-per-view. Like, in a full stadium. Like, that seems like a bad idea. But, yeah, Becky was the obvious pick to win here. She's obviously taken the title into WrestleMania. There's a very minute chance because they were in Saudi that Lita was going to win. But Lita got a really nice ovation from the crowd as well. Good to see that respect from the audience. You know, there's a lot of controversy about the women competing in Saudi and having to cover up head to toe and cover up all their arms and stuff. And while I think as a Westerner it's easy for me to judge and say it's ridiculous, you know, when Drew McIntyre can be walking around in just his underpants, like, it's a cultural difference, and as much as I disagree with it, it is what it is. But despite that cultural difference, it was nice to see such respect shown to the women's. It's not a disrespect thing. You know, they didn't all walk out during the women's matches. They didn't all disrespect the women. The women got the same treatment as the men from the crowd. And Lita got a hell of an ovation after the match, which was really nice to see. Really good to see. The Usos and the Viking Raiders, it says here on WWE.com, ended in a no contest, but it didn't, because it didn't start. That's not ending in a no contest. That didn't happen. I'm allowing myself this prediction, because you're never going to predict that a match won't happen. Like, or if you do, it's super rare, and you're probably going to be wrong. But I predicted the Usos to walk out with the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, and they did. So I'm allowing myself that. I'm certainly not calling it a wrong prediction. I will say, though, this was actually preferable to the Usos beating the Viking Raiders, in my opinion. Because this probably means the match is going to drag out till WrestleMania. The program's going to, like, be delayed until WrestleMania. And that gives the Viking Raiders a much bigger chance to win, in my opinion. You know, big moment at WrestleMania. But also, Mrs. EBEZA actually turned to me and said, I don't know who these guys are. Now, she doesn't keep up with main roster or anything like I do, but she watches a lot of the pay-per-views. And is vaguely up to speed. And that just shows how poorly Eric and Ivar have been used, in my opinion. The fact that she didn't even know who they were. Like, she knew who everyone else on the show was, except maybe Austin Theory. I think she's not seen a lot of him. But, like, he's pretty new. Eric and Ivar have been around for years now at this point, you know. So, that just speaks volumes to how badly they've been used in recent times. So I'm glad they're getting 6 more weeks of build before potentially winning the titles. I hope they are anyway. I hope they don't try and do it on SmackDown, do the rematch on SmackDown. I hope they drag it out somehow. But yeah, so I hold out hope that they could get a big win at WrestleMania and potentially a good run then, because, you know, you don't You don't give them that big win at WrestleMania just to take the belt back off them, in my opinion. That seems illogical, so hopefully they get a good run with the belts. And then the main event. This has been a really quick review. I apologise for that, but this is what happens when I don't take notes. I'm just giving my overall thoughts. So I apologise for it being a short review, but let me know what you prefer. Like, the Royal Rumble review I did was like an hour long. This one's going to be like 15 minutes. Let me know what you prefer. Lesnar won the WWE title Elimination Chamber match, as I predicted. Turns out the stuff that happened with Bobby Lashley was not legit. He didn't actually get a concussion in that spot, but he had a shoulder injury, apparently. I've been told. I haven't confirmed this for myself, like Googled it or whatever, but I believe he had like a shoulder injury and basically wasn't cleared to compete. So they put him out there and knocked him out of the match early, kind of thing, that way. Because I thought it was going to be a work and he was going to come back once Lesnar had swept everyone else out, but was not to be. And then when they didn't, I still thought it was just a work to protect Lashley, you know, not have to have him take the loss, you know, build to the match later down the line. But yeah, it turns out it was a legit injury, if not the one advertised. But yeah, this chamber match was really fun. They started off with obviously all the wrestlers, you know, and I know Brock Lesnar is a great wrestler, but you know what I mean, the one's gonna put on a decent match, as opposed to Lesnar, who is basically just a bulldozer at the moment. And a very entertaining one. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying that is basically his role. So, who started? It was Seth... Oh, yeah, Seth and Austin Theory. Seth Rollins, Austin Theory, because they had the really entertaining thing where Seth was dancing because the fans were doing his music, like singing his music, and then Austin Theory's mocking it. So they had a lot of fun go off against each other. Then I think Seth powerbombed Theory through the chamber wall of Lashley, which obviously wrote him out. Who came in next? Was it Style? Was it AJ or was it the other person? Who was the other person? What the hell? Hang on, why am I drawing a mental blank on this? Hang on. Who the hell was in the chamber? Riddle! Of course it was, yeah, because Riddle posed for the selfie with Theory during his entrance. That was pretty fun. So, right, yeah, so I can't remember who came in next. I can't remember lots of details, to be honest. But basically, once all four were in, Riddle, I think, was still standing and was waiting for who came in. And I was like, well, obviously it's Lesnar. And they actually announced Lashley's pod. And then Lesnar just kicked his way through his chamber wall and came out anyway, which was just really his pod wall, which was just a really fun spot. He eliminated, I think, Seth first with an F5, then Riddle and AJ, but I can't remember which order, and then it was left with just Brock and Austin Theory, who ran around a bit and then hit him with a low blow and got a couple of offensive moves in, and then regretted it and got thrown off the top of the pod with an F5, which was an amazing spot. Really fun. Really, kudos to Austin Theory for taking that. Like that's got to be a bit scary, but yeah, it was a really fun little thing. Austin Theory got more offense in than everyone else in the match combined on Brock Lesnar, which is testament to how much they believe in him. I think, but. Yeah, Brock obviously picked up the win, and I got a clean sweep of predictions, I believe. Unless I was wrong about Ronda and Charlotte, if I predicted Charlotte, but I don't think I did. I think I settled on Ronda, to be honest. But let me know in the comments if I'm wrong on that. But yeah, also let me know in the comments what you thought of the show. Overall, I enjoyed the show. I thought it was a good enough show. I was never like... The only thing I didn't like was all the stupid video packages. They did a Bobby Lashley video package for a guy that they knew was injured and wasn't going to be participating in the match. Like, properly. Like, and then they did a Seth Rollins one. Like, the guy's already in the WWE Championship picture. Like, we know who these guys are. It's fine. It just seemed like a time waste. Like, the show could just have been shorter. Like, that was my only complaint, really. Some of the women's matches weren't super convincing, in my opinion. Or some of the women's stuff, I wouldn't say matches, whole matches weren't convincing. Like, overall, I'd say the quality of the match was pretty good, just across the show. But there was a few moments in some of the women's matches where I was like, oh, I didn't look great. you know, didn't love that. But overall, good show. A good year so far for WWE, honestly. I've not watched Raw and SmackDown week in, week out or anything like that, but everything I've watched of WWE I've enjoyed this year. It's the fun thing, isn't it? The in thing to bash on WWE. I just haven't hated any of it. And I know people didn't like Ronda and Brock winning the Rumbles, but I feel like they made sense. You know, like, they made sense. You need big names in your marquee matches at WrestleMania. And now we've got a WrestleMania where we've got Brock versus Roman with both titles involved. We've got Ronda and Charlotte, and we've got Becky and Bianca. Like, that's already looking like a pretty amazing WrestleMania. And then you've got the rumoured Kevin Owens and Steve Austin. Like, I don't know if that'll come into fruition at all, but hey, stranger things have happened. But yeah, let me know what you thought of Elimination Chamber in the comments below, and what you think of WrestleMania in the year so far for WWE. I'd be curious to know what people think. Leave a like if you enjoyed this review. It'd be great to have some positive feedback like that. And subscribe if you're new here. I predict and review most shows, most wrestling shows. I didn't do Impact predictions because honestly I kind of forgot the show was happening until yesterday. I might watch it. I've not watched it yet. I might watch it and do a review at some point. Maybe watch it today or tomorrow and do the review for tomorrow. I don't know. We will see. But the only way for you to find out is to be subscribed, so make sure you do. But for now, all I have left to say is thank you very much for watching. As always, I've been EBEZA, you've been amazing, and I will see you next time.